Okay, this video will take you through all of the skills that you need to get through Module 5 of the Google Level 1 prep course. And this module covers Google Sites and Google Classroom. And I have a list of a step-by-step for every one of the skills we're going through today. So I'll just keep coming back here to keep my spot in the training, and I'll just jump in here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to create a new Google site. And we are going to make this site with the topic in mind of a club or a sport that you sponsor at school, or maybe just a made up cool club that you wish you could bring to the school. Or if you have a more authentic reason to make a Google site and haven't had the chance to do it, go ahead and make the site about whatever you'd like. Okay, so to create a new Google site, there are two ways to do it. I can come to my Google Drive. I can click New, More, and Google Sites. Google Sites, the new Google Sites sort of lives in Drive just like the Google Doc would, and its domain settings are similar to that. So it's a little bit different than just a regular website. Or I can navigate to sites.google.com/new. Now, make sure that when you do this and when you use Google Sites for the exam, you are using the new Google Sites. It's specific about that. If you accidentally go to the old Google Sites, it will prompt you like, hey, do you want to come back here? Just like down here on the lower left side, you can see you can click to go back to Sites. But the new Google Sites looks very similar to Classroom, looks very similar to a lot of the tools that G Suite offers. So to create a site, you can see I have a ton of practice ones in here. But if you come down to the bottom right corner and click that red plus button, it will create your new Google site. And to rename this site, just like you would a Google Doc, up here in the upper left corner, if I click where it says Untitled Site, I can just go ahead and type in my stuff. There you go. Just like you would change the title of a Google form or a Google Doc or any of that stuff. All right. So now we are going to change the header image of our site. So back to the site, I'm on my home page, and if I hover over this large banner here at the top, I can change my header image. So I'm hovering over and I can see I have the option to change the image. I'm going to click this drop down arrow and I can either upload something that I already have saved or I can select an image. So up to you. Know that you have options here. I'm going to click select image and I can perform a search. I can choose something that I've got saved. Doesn't matter. Just for the sake of practice, I'll choose this and press select. Side note, if you do upload your own image, please be sure, especially for a site, that you are using something that is licensed appropriately so that you aren't breaking any copyright rules by putting images on your site that you shouldn't be. All right, moving on. Now I'm going to create 3 different pages on the site. To do that, in the upper right corner, I have some tabs here that I use to build my site. You know what? I'm going to click here and just change the title here so it looks nicer. Okay. And I'm going to click Pages. And down at the bottom of Pages, there's a plus sign. Click to add a new page. So this will be different pages nested inside of your site. And it will create tabs at the top of your site so that someone using your site can easily navigate from page to page. So I'm going to put About and press Done. I'm going to type Events and press Done. And you can see that they're populating here on the right of your sitemap. And they're also populating up here on the clickable tabs. And then I'm going to do one more. There we go. So I've got my About page, my Events page, and my Member page. Okay, what's next? Insert this Google Doc or any Google Doc into one of the pages. Sites is such a nice way to package stuff, either for like a unit that you want your students using, or to have your students create something. And it works really seamlessly with all of the other G Suite tools. If I click the Insert tab, I can search my Google Drive to find something. And then just as a side note, you'll notice all of these layouts here. So it really don't have to be an expert site designer to use Google Sites and to create websites, because there's tons of tools to make it really user friendly. So I can, if I wanted like an image to be on one side and text to be on the other, I wanted a nice layout without having to do a lot of the work, I can select one of those layouts to help me out. Okay, so back to the prompt, I am to find a Google Doc. So I'm going to click Drive, and I'm just going to grab one that is in here. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to click this one. And once I select my doc, I just press Insert. This is going to be a weird site. It doesn't make sense, but I'm just practicing. And then once I insert my Google Doc here, when a user is looking at this, they can scroll. But if you wanted all of your content to be available without having to scroll, you can click and drag to resize stuff, and you just have to kind of play with this to get it to be the size and shape that you want it to be. So it's as simple as that. And what's cool about this too is if I am editing, so this professional development activities Google Doc that I inserted for my practice here, if I edit this in my Google Doc, those changes will still be reflected on the site. So I could have stuff in here that I'm constantly updating, and it automatically updates on the site too, because it's behaving just like any Google Doc would with that instant update. There are a number of teachers in our district using this as kind of an innovative way to get students blogging, where students are just updating Google Docs, and the teachers house a Google site with all of those docs there. The kids aren't editing the site, they're editing the docs, and it's working out really well. Just one use case there for you. Okay. So now I am going to add a description to the home page of my site. So I'm going to come back to my site, and I'm going to add some text. And I can either add a text box here by going to Insert Text Box, or I can just double click on the white space down here, press Text, and I can have a title, a header, a subheading, or small text. And I just type right there on my page. Okay. I feel like I skipped a step. I did. One of the things I forgot to do earlier, change the theme of your site. I apologize for going out of order. Up here in the upper right hand in those creation tabs, I'm going to choose themes, and I have a few themes to pick from. I'm going to choose impression, and then I can choose a color, or I can even be more specific. Here, let's go with one that I can actually see here. If I choose this, I can actually put in the hex code to make colors match and stuff if I'm wanting to, or I can just pick something that's available. I can also change the font style. And so one of the criticisms that people have of Google Sites is that there's not as many options as some other site builders have. But the nice thing is that it really does, again, simplify site design. So I've got some themes to pick from. All right, let's go back to where we were. We are going to, on one page, let's see, I added a description on my homepage done. Next, I'm going to insert an image on a different page. So let's click our About page here. I don't have anything here. I'm going to go to Insert, Images, Select, or Upload. So again, looking for something you've already saved, or performing the search right here. Type in Chromebook. And Down here at the bottom where it says there's like so once I select an image down here at the bottom, this is the source link. I can click there and check to make sure that the image I'm using um, is licensed as such. So just that works for any G Suite tools. If you wanted to check, I'm not going to publish this, so I'm not going to worry about it too much just for the sake of practice here. Let's pick this one. And that inserts my image. Okay. This would be a great way to have a gallery of student work. I could see like a science fair website or a virtual art gallery, that sort of thing. Next, we are going to insert a Google Calendar. So this would be really, really good for like if you have an extracurricular or if your content has a lot of performance events, you could keep a Google Calendar, insert the Google Calendar into your website. And again, when you change your actual Google Calendar, those changes will be reflected on your website. So I'm going to come back here into a different page. I've got an events page, and I can navigate to different pages by either clicking up here at the top. I've got all of my tabs here. I can just click to navigate, or I can come to pages and click on the page that I want to edit. To insert a calendar, I click insert. And if I scroll down, I get some more options here. So like literally all G Suite things. I'm going to click calendar, and it is going to let me pick what calendar I want to include. And I'll press insert. And my Google Calendar is now in there. And it's just going to show the layer that you select. So more about calendar to come, but your base calendar is that's my Diana.Gileadys Porter calendar, and I can make as many calendar layers as I want. If you're making a classroom website, you might want to put in your Google Calendar that's attached to your Google Classroom. The next thing I'm going to do is insert a YouTube video. So I'm going to come back here, and I'll pick a different page here. And I'm going to go to insert. I'll have to scroll down, click YouTube. And I can either perform a YouTube search right here, or I can click uploaded, and things that I've uploaded to my channel will be here immediately. So that's kind of nice too, especially if you're building a site that houses content maybe from instructional videos that you've created and saved on your YouTube channel. I can click and select, and my video is now embedded into my website. Okay. Next, I am going to invite another teacher to edit my site. To do that, this reminds me too that a lot of teachers have been using Google Sites to create their own digital breakouts and a collaboration. A lot of times teachers will share theirs with me so I can help them make sure all the stuff that's within their digital breakout is not filtered for students, or we'll work together to build it out, or you might share it with another teacher. So you guys can collaborate, like two teachers can collaborate on a website or digital breakout too. So just like you would share Google Doc, I'll press this share with others icon in the upper right. Start typing in name. And I want to make sure I give this person edit rights and then press send. I'm not going to do that right now though, because Galen will have no idea what this weird website is. Next, I am going to look at my publish settings and change the URL of my site. If I come back to my website, I can press that publish button in the upper right, and it will tell me what my web address is. My web address is right here, and it's nested inside of eSporter, so it's not going to be a simple, clean looking URL. Obviously, you can just provide the URL that's clickable for people, so no need to memorize it. But if I wanted to change this, I could. So I could just do, SWAT. So I can edit that. My site's not published right now. When you're ready to publish, you would press publish, but for the sake of this kind of playground situation, if you will, I'm not going to publish it. Okay. So lots more you can do with Google Sites, but those are the basics. And feel free to play with it or get your students in there working with sites. If you have questions or if you feel inspired to use Google Sites in your classroom, please reach out at any time. We are going to move on to Google Classroom now. Okay. So first, we are going to create a class in Google Classroom. So I'm going to come to classroom.google.com. You can always, of course, navigate to this from your Google Drive, or you can pin a tab down here in your taskbar to get there quickly. You can see I have that down on the bottom of mine. Okay, so I'm going to create a new Google Classroom. If you haven't used Google Classroom yet, you will be prompted to identify yourself as either a teacher or a student. And if you've never done that before, and this is the first time you're saying, hey, I'm a teacher, all of those teacher requests to be in Google Classroom have to be manually accepted. And so if you today are asking to be a teacher in Google Classroom and it's not letting you create a class, that's because either Chris Bowers or I have to manually go in there and approve it. And it doesn't notify us when somebody asks for that. So if I don't get to it immediately, just send me an email and I'll take care of it. But again, I won't know unless you say something. So I'm going to press this plus sign and I'm going to choose create class. And I'll just do practice, and I can, you don't necessarily have to fill in all of this stuff. Or you could do first period, or you could do just music based on content. However you want to set that up is completely up to you. Just keep a couple of things in mind that Google Classrooms are not really created in a way that the classroom itself is reusable. Your content is reusable from year after year, but a classroom is a living thing, and you start over with each new group of kids. With that said, I also recommend that if you teach, 6 classes and 3 of them are 7th grade and 3 of them are 8th grade, I would not put all of the grade levels in a course. I would have it separated by class period. That's going to make your life easier for grading. It's going to make your life easier if your classes aren't always on the same page. It's going to make it easier for differentiation and group work and all of that stuff. You can post, when you post an assignment though, you can post it to multiple classrooms at the same time. So just some things to keep in mind as you get set up. I'm not going to create a new class. I'll just use one of mine that's already set up to show you some of this stuff. So I'm going to press cancel, but you would press create. And you are going to find the class code and put it in display mode for students. So this is how you get your kids into Google Classroom. There's a couple of ways to do that. So I'm going to open up a classroom here. And you can see that right here inside of my Google Classroom header, the class code is displayed right there. And if I press that little icon just to the right, display, it will display this class code for you so it's actually readable. So you could pull this up, project this for your students, have them come in, go to Google Classroom, press that plus sign, press join class, and then they would type in this code. You can also go full screen with it. And that is my recommended way to get into the classes for your kids. You can always also come to people, click that invite student icon and type in their names and invite them. this will require them to go into Gmail and accept the invitation. And I find that this is more chaos than just having them type in the code. So get them used to joining those classrooms like that. Okay, next, you are going to invite the person sitting next to you to join your class. So use one of those two ways we just went through, either giving them the invite code or adding them directly and asking them to accept the invitation that they'll get in their Gmail. And create a topic on your classwork page called Genius Hour. Now, as I go through this, if you've never created a topic before and you'd rather use this time to create something that you're actually going to use, go for it. I'm just using this as a way to get us in there practicing. So you're going to create a topic in your class page. The classwork page tab in your Google Classroom is where all of the work happens. That's a little bit different from how Google Classroom looked when it first came out. In the classwork tab, you can see that in this prep course that we've got a couple of different folders going. Google Classroom, they're kind of like folders. Google Classroom calls them topics, and it's the way that you can organize. And this is such a nice change in Google Classroom because before it was just the most recent thing was at the top. But as Google Classroom grows and becomes more like a learning management system and listens to best practices of online design, it allows you to create an easier space to navigate for your kids. So to create a topic, you would press create topic and just type in the name of that topic. And I have two, step 1 and step 2. So you would for your class file them under maybe you've got a topic for bell work, a topic for reading, a topic for feedback, or maybe you set your topics up by week. Maybe you set them up by unit topics. It doesn't matter as long as there's a level of consistency for how you set your stuff up so students are comfortable navigating that digital platform. Okay, so now you are going to post a question to your Genius Hour topic asking students what they want to learn about the most. So you can create assignments, questions, materials, or resources and house them inside of that topic folder. So this asks us to create a question, and I can type in my question. I love questions for exit slips, entrance tickets, that sort of thing. A quick formative assessment during the day because they're quick to set up. So I would type in my question, add in any instructions, points that it's worth. I can fill out the rest of these prompts. And then if I want this question to be filed somewhere, I would just choose that topic that I created that I want it to be inside of, or I can just create a new topic right from here if I haven't done that yet too. Or all of these things are clickable and draggable. So I can click and drag to reorder or to reorganize. So now I'm going to add a Google Doc as a resource. Okay. And what that means is I have some creation options. And if I create an assignment, that's usually reserved for things that I'm using that as a space to get something back from the kids. Of course, you can use an assignment to tell them they have like an offline assignment. But then it sort of asks the students to mark it as done. And sometimes they forget to do that if it's not an actual assignment submission that they're turning in through Google Classroom. So something to keep in mind. My recommendation is to reserve that assignment piece if you're actually having them interact digitally. The material is just when you want to give them something to view, but you don't necessarily need them typing on it or creating on it. So I'm going to click Create Material, and I can press that Google Drive icon. It will pull up my Google Drive. I love that it automatically goes to my recent stuff because odds are I'm working on something that I'm going to pull into Classroom right then. And I'll just click this, and my students are going to be able to take a look at this, but again, they're not going to be able to edit it, and they're not going to be able to interact with it in any way. It's just something I'm giving to them. And then I can choose what topic it goes in and post. I'm not going to do that. Just because this is a real classroom, I don't want weird things in it. Okay. Next, I am going to use the People tab to send an email to my student. Okay, let me go to a different classroom to show you what this looks like when I actually have students on there. And you'll have your one student in there already. Okay, so I'm going to go to People, and I'm going to click on a name. I'm going to go to Actions and use the drop-down arrow to click Email, and then that's going to let me send an email to that person without having to go to Gmail, but right from Classroom. And that's really nice. If maybe there was a field trip and I need to send an email to a select group of kids, I can come in here and select, or I can send an email to my entire class by just selecting all, or and this is like my favorite thing, email all guardians. If you're utilizing the Google Classroom Guardian feature here, which I won't talk about a lot because it's not part of this, but I can click email all guardians, and it will create a Gmail message that automatically grabs all of my parent emails if they are set up here, and it will put all of their emails in the BCC category in my email composition, so that my parents aren't seeing each other's email addresses. It respects their privacy, and it also prevents those reply all emails, threads that sometimes become a little out of hand. All right. So now there are some things to talk with your partner about, listed here. Looking at whether or not we're using Google Classroom to give feedback, there have been some pretty awesome changes to what feedback and grading, what that shell kind of looks like in Google Classroom. So what are some features that you enjoy? What are you looking forward to using? What do you do now? What do you want to do in the future? How are you using the private comment features to communicate with students? And what are some things about Classroom that you haven't explored that you'd like to? So there's a lot more we could talk about with Google Classroom. This is just kind of the getting started basics, and the skills necessary for completing the level 1 educator exam. Thank you so much. As you work through this, remember that you can tag me in a comment on your assignment, your Module 5 assignment, to get my attention if you have a question about something you're working on, or just feel free to email me anytime. And I hope you guys are enjoying. Have a great one.